Hey guys, this is TrueHokie, and big shout out to Venezuela Ghost Battalion. We've had some great stuff going on recently, some super wars, really exciting. You may have thought, why can you say that? Because we lost both of the last two wars. We lost them by that much, just one battle, maybe two battles that would have made the difference in this last one, and we could have just been there. It's so close, and it has me so excited as an officer in the guild, as a member of the guild. It's just like we are good, and I can see the goodness, and I can see the improvement in the last couple of wars, and I can see where there are areas of improvement. I think there are things that we can do, and I want to talk to you about some of those things today, because there's some easy changes that we can make that I believe could radically improve what we can do. And so I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to show you a couple things that I think cost us a little bit in this war and things that we could do. And I want to more point towards what we can do, what's already on our rosters in some respects. So I'm showing you here a snapshot of our defense in the CLS region. This is the CLS plus Chupio region of our defenses. It also had some Mon Mothma teams. And you know our opponent did this. If you paid a lot of attention to what our opponent did, they had a whole region full of Chupio teams, and they were monsters. I attacked one of them with a Jedi Knight Revan squad, and at one point, they had killed off three of my guys, including Grandmaster Yoda, Jedi Knight Revan, Bastila Lashawn. And fortunately, they didn't target Jolie Bindo, where I would have had to back out. I almost did. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get killed here. And it's same GP, and I was targeting Chewbacca first, just like I should, but I hadn't brought him down yet. Fortunately, I was able to raise everybody from the dead and made a nice comeback with it. And it would have been a great one had I recorded it to share with you, but didn't do that. Sorry about that. But I do want you to take a look here at this screen share I've got going on here of these Chupio teams that we put on defense. And you can see where they caused the attackers problems. Cluckhone's team, you gotta love that. 4 attacks, 4 battles to take down Cluckhone's team. And he's got a Gear 11 5-star Chupio. And his Han Solo is only Gear 12, and yet 4 attacks eaten up. Oh, you love to see that. And then you have Bree. She ate up 2 attacks with 124k GP team. Massively amazing. Still just a Gear 12 Chupio. Very good Chupio, but not anything strategic. And some people are like, oh, I don't have even a Gear 11 Chupio. Look at my team. My team, 91k, and it took 2 attacks to bring down. The only special guy I've got on that team is Chewbacca at Relic 5. But my Chupio is Gear 8, 6 stars. And you may think, why in the world did you even think to put that out there on defense? Well, they just kind of underestimated it. And that's true. And that's part of what we want to do, right? You want to catch people, and you want them to underestimate what you're doing offensively or defensively. And they do it about 50% of the time. I've noticed my team, even at 91k, and I'm going to bring that GP up. I'm still working on this team. The next guy to work on here would be Commander Luke Skywalker. You want to gear him up, and you think, why aren't you working on Chupio more if you're talking about how much he matters? And it's because he doesn't matter for the reason a lot of people think he does. If you're looking at your roster, and I looked at some people's rosters this last time, and I saw people deploying their CLS team, but no Chupio. And I'm like, you're not following the instructions that we have on the header. Follow the instructions, put Chupio out there. I'm looking at their rosters, and I can see where the apprehension comes. I looked at one guy's roster, and he had deployed CLS, and his Chupio on his roster was 3 stars, level 1, and no gear. And then another guy had Gear 5, level 85, and he didn't deploy that one. And I'm looking at them like, all you need to do, everybody's got Gear 7 material on their at hand, or you can gear somebody up to Gear 7 with nothing. You know, 2 seconds, you can gear somebody up to gear 7 with just a couple of clicks. If you can get your Chupio to gear 7, gear 8, even at 3 stars, 4 stars, it doesn't matter because Chupio has this amazing ability. The reason why I focus on him so much, if the allied leader is a rebel, 3PO and Chewie gain 40% of the leader's max health, max protection, offense, defense, potency, and tenacity, and everybody else on the team gains half that amount. Can you imagine if your whole CLS team had 20% more health, protection, offense, defense, potency, tenacity? And that's why they are absolute jerks on defense, why I hate to attack them, and why I want more of them on defense. So if you can please help us out, build this team, even if it's a cheap little Chupio, even if it's a little innocent-looking Chupio that the attacker will underestimate because he's affecting the entire CLS team with this ability, this crazy ability they put on him that makes him awesome and makes the CLS team worthwhile. If you don't have Chupio, don't deploy your CLS on defense. Save him for offense. He's still good for certain offensive circumstances, but he's not going to be a challenge. He's not meeting the requirements of what we need on defense unless you've got the Chupio on there. So pay attention to the instructions in each region. A couple other things. When we've asked people to deploy General Grievous on defense, I think there's been a little bit of confusion at times. I haven't deployed my General Grievous because I don't feel like my General Grievous is up to snuff yet. As you can see, he's like gear 9, and he should be at least gear 12. I've ignored General Grievous, as you can see, and you might wonder, why haven't you geared these guys up? And that's because you're always making choices between, you know, what to gear and what not to gear. And I've been working on my Galactic Legend, but I'll get back to these teams really soon. They're useful in the Grand Arena and wars and territory battles. But when we suggest substituting in Watt or BB-8 or someone else onto the team, we're always talking about replacing Droideka. And if you're like me, you look at it and you're like, I've got this cool Droideka and I want to use him and he's left over. And so you need to use him somewhere. And I almost used another account to show you better tunes, but this is more realistic. We all have things to work on. I'm not too worried about the level of Watt Tambor, but General Grievous has got to be at least gear 12. If Watt dies, though, he'll go first anyway. He'll land a buff, but if he dies, General Grievous will get a bonus turn. So it's really just important General Grievous is higher geared in this case, at least most important. For the other Separatist team, you want a Newt Gunray as your lead, and you need to have a Zeta. And he should probably be at least gear 10, gear 11, gear 11 really. You also need Count Dooku to be probably at least gear 11, and Enfys Nest probably needs to be at least gear 12 with the Zeta. And so that's the reason why I wouldn't deploy this team in a war, because you could counter it very easily with bugs. And you don't want to put something on defense that can be easily countered by bugs. And so if your new Gunray can be brought down, if your Enfys Nest can be brought down, then your team is going to be wasted. So I don't have everything needed to deploy this team. So if we ever ask for it, mine will get held for offense until I put Viceroy's Reach, Zeta on Newt, and gear up Enfys Nest to where it's a little more comfortable to put them out there. So there are a couple things you can see that I need to work on. But once I get there, this team's going to be effective. And if you have these teams, you're working on them, this is how you break them up to deploy them in Grand Arena, wars, etc. I belong to another guild, some of you know. I have another account called Thor's. He's in the top 200 guilds. Actually, we're number 158 right now. We've been as high as number 50 in the world. And even that, in that guild's wars, we've deployed a Gear 8 6-star Chupio on CLS teams on defense. And some people think, you know, hey, mine's not competitive enough. Well, if you've got Gear 8 Chupio, he could be deployed on a top 50 team in the world. Not ideal. They want you to work that sucker up and get him to, you know, relic status and so forth, particularly for working in the new pit challenge. But it's good enough. If you look at Cubs fans' videos, and I'm telling you, the top gills in the world live on these videos by Cubs fan. And the guy comes out with these videos about the top teams. He shows you what's out there and what people are using and what is most effective, both in wars and territory battles and challenges and arena. So pay attention to his videos, but this is from his content here as he listed the top 10 teams other than Galactic Legends. Obviously, you want to build Galactic Legends first, and that's where a lot of my gear has gone recently, right? And I'm sure a lot of your gear has gone there too. But these are Galactic Legend, non-Galactic Legends that are great teams. Gas is still number one because he can beat every other team out of this top 10 that Cubs fan came up with. And he's useful in wars. He's useful in galactic challenges. He's useful all over the place in territory battles. Darth Revan's squad still extremely useful. Cubs fan, and I think all the top teams now are more and more recommending the Marauder. Much more effective when countering things like Padme teams that everybody puts on defense. Jedi Knight Luke has become a really big deal. And that's because you can put Jedi Knight Luke in there, put Yoda in there, and a few other Jedi, and then you suddenly have a Galactic Legend killing team. You can take out Galactic Legends with a lot of counters. And the guild I'm part of that's in the top 50, top 200, depends on where we're ranked at the given week. But they'll put almost all of their Galactic Legends on defense. We had like 70 Galactic Legends on defense this last time. And hardly any Galactic Legends left for offense. All we're doing to take down Galactic Legends is using counters like this. Luke and Darth Vader counters that effectively take it out. Notice Cubs fans' number 4 team here is the CLS Chupio team. It's the reason why I focus on it so much, because it's just it's a team that it's just under the radar that people don't pay as much attention to. That's important and is now becoming super important in wars. The other one is Jedi Revan. If you throw General Skywalker in that team, he becomes a Galactic Legend killer in various ways as well, if you're skilled with that technique. The other 5 teams in the top 10 for Cubs fan are the Padme squad, which everybody uses, defensively, offensively. I mean, it's just still a really good team. Vader's on that list along with Wat Tambor, and you may want to keep your Wat Tambor back for offense. If you know how to use this counter with Vader and Wat Tambor and the blue guy, Admiral Thrawn, you can take down a lot of Galactic Legends with those guys. And then, of course, the new up-and-coming teams. Those are the ones you watch Cubs fan, because he keeps his eye on the teams that are evolving as the game makers put out new content. Mandalorian with Beskar armor is becoming the big deal right now, right? All the challenges, they're listing him as important and needed and required and so forth. And you got to pay attention to that stuff. And he becomes a great team that maybe nobody has this hardly in our guild yet, but you certainly want to work toward getting your Mandalorian with Beskar armor. Another really amazing team is General Veers. This team has taken off again because of Admiral Piet. He is an amazing character. They even knocked the Colonel off of this one. Colonel, what's his name? I don't remember his name, but you can put him on this team. Don't substitute out the General or the Admiral Piet or the Death Trooper, but you can stick the Colonel in for the Range Trooper, for instance, or for Moff Gideon, and still have a very effective team. Moff Gideon, though, is an amazing character too, and I've seen somebody using this even in squad arena very effectively up to a point. He can be competitive with a lot of different squads, but you certainly want to try to pursue this team. Got to have when we ask you to deploy something like this, if we deploy something new, like maybe a General Veers team that would be very effective maybe on defense, you got to pay attention to the content, because you don't want to deploy this thing without Death Trooper or Admiral Piet. or without the General Veer's Zeta, for instance. All those things become important. And actually, Admiral Piet has a couple of important Zetas as well. And so if I knew we were going to deploy this team, for instance, I'd go and invest my Zeta in Admiral Piet and try to build him up, gear him up a little bit as well. So we'll be releasing some information about which of these teams or other teams will become important here in the future. The Django lead is really nice as well for bounty hunters, particularly now that they've added the Mandalorian and Grief Karga. Those are good tunes to have. Always a good idea to pay attention when the gamers release these new tunes and things. And as you look through things to build, what's important. First of all, you certainly want to develop a Galactic Legend, maybe work on your gas team. Those are probably the top teams that really are effective still in battle. Darth Revan and Darth Malak. Jedi Knight Luke is becoming extraordinarily important. Chupio, even at Gear 7, level 85. Mandalorian with Beskar armor is going to become important, I think, as time goes on. They're going to add people to that team. You can just count on it. You can feel it coming. And so you kind of want to build that team. Admiral Piet, also really important guy to have. He has some good counters against Galactic Legends, and he's a part of a great clone trooper team that you can throw in on defense and do wicked things to people. The Mandalorian and Grief Karga for your bounty hunter team can be very important, and they help you as well to get the Mandalorian with Beskar armor, or at least the regular Mandalorian does. And then the rest of your Imperial troopers, I put them in that order, but you can play with the order of these things. There are other teams that are useful and effective, I think, to put out there as well. You notice General Grievous didn't even make Cubs fans' top 10 list anymore. I think that was a little bit of a mistake because we, for instance, still deploy General Grievous on defense. I think we'll continue to for a while. I'm going to invest in my General Grievous for a while yet, and I'm certainly going to get him to relic level here sometime in the near future because he's still an important tune, an effective guy, and for our level of play, he's still, even for the other guild that I'm in, it causes some fails here and there, and that's what you want to do with your best defenders. And I still think he's better than bounty hunters. For instance, I'd have bounced bounty hunters off the list, but they all have other uses as well, right? So, but Chupio team still important for not just wars, but once you relic Chupio to relic 5, cleanup in the challenge pit becomes really necessary, and in the 4th tier, he becomes really useful to hold on to till the very end. Well, I hope I've shared some things that are helpful to people to think about as far as teams to build, the way to look at your roster, the way to split your teams. And I'm particularly thinking about General Grievous and what you do with Droid to come moving him off the team to a different separatist team, really effective if you can get the Django Zeta lead. The Newt Gunray Zeta is going to become important to me somewhere along the line here soon. And then you've got 2 separatist teams that are very, very good and can cause attackers to fail. Same thing, you're looking at Imperial troopers, and you're kind of thinking, you can knock people down with those Imperial troopers sometimes. They get amazing amounts of turn meter. They're surprising teams. That you get into the attack and you realize, oops. And that's what you always are looking for, right? You want that oops feeling in your opponent. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you've shared a few things that are useful, and happy gaming to you. I'm excited about our guild. I think we've got a great future and some really good leadership, and I'm excited about the next war. Let's do it.